For those of you who weren't here on the previous podcast, I mentioned previously how Doc Rivers there were some comments exchanged between JJ Redick over on First Take about how JJ Redick and his opinions on Doc Rivers. JJ Redick previously, I'm just going to pull up the quote right now, just to make sure that I say everything properly. But if the quote would load up, Jesus Christ. But JJ Redick said, "I've seen the trend for years. The trend is always making excuses. Doc, we get it. Taking over a team in the middle of a season is hard. It's always an excuse. It's always throwing your team under the bus. There's never accountability with that guy." Now, obviously, that's a lot of harsh words coming from one of your former players, especially when his best years were under the Clippers. Now, I commented on that in the previous podcast. I didn't really think it meant that much, but Patrick Beverley thought otherwise. Now, we all know Patrick Beverley. He loves opening his mouth, and he loves bringing himself into conversations via his podcast, spreading his own opinions whenever he can. So he responded to JJ Redick on Twitter saying, "This man actually saved your career, started you when no one else wanted to, and you retire, go on TV, and say that." So obviously there's a lot of being the fact that Doc Rivers now is like Beverly's head coach again, and the fact that Beverly has coaching experience under Doc Rivers, it makes sense how Beverly is like coming into Doc's defense, because saying these comments like this on TV, while they might be true, is a little bit uncalled for in my personal opinion, because again, he was a player that coached you, and you sort of like, it's sort of a respect thing. Like, I mean, I understand that as of right now, and from what it looks like, Doc might not have much respect for a lot of these players, constantly throwing them under the bus, but still, you don't want to end up being that same guy doing that same thing. And JJ Redick actually had a tweet to respond about Patrick Beverley, because while Beverley does have a point, I do think his delivery on that point comes off as a little bit rude, uncalled for as well, given how he's talking to JJ Redick like he's some kind of scrub. And he responds, "Pat, my guy, I had a 4-year offer with a player option for the same money to be a starter for a different team." FOH, and you guys know what that means, but I'm not going to say that here. Saved my career, in quotes. So, obviously, JJ Redick, he took offense to that because, I mean, Patrick Beverley talked about him like he was some kind of scrub, and he needed that position, that starting position. Otherwise, he wouldn't be much in the league. But clearly, JJ Redick's value is a lot more to the for the league, especially now, and it was back then, given how he has another player option. He had another player option waiting for him, so he didn't really need Doc Rivers. So I guess he has a little bit more ground to say that. He also had some more comments on First Take. He said, "I can do a video on my podcast where I break down the last 9 games the Pelicans have used Zion Williamson as the primary ball handler, and it'll get 54,000 views on YouTube. But I want to call out a coach yesterday. Oh, that gets tens of millions of engagements. That's the ecosystem we live in. So do fans actually want to be educated or not?" That was JJ Redick's comments via First Take. So obviously he has a lot of things to say about the media targeting him and what he said about Doc Rivers. So I'm not entirely sure if he was trying to, I guess you could say, spread truth in saying those things about Doc, because it's not like he's saying things that the media doesn't already know, if that makes sense. Doc since he's been done with the Celtics and his recent coaching careers, he's always had histories of being of not being particularly well with his teams in the postseason and in the games that really matter. So everyone in the media knows that his coaching experience is a little bit lacking, but it's not like any of the players are like that quick to say it. So it's sort of like a you see and you don't tell kind of thing, which I understand why he's upset, because it's like, I'm just stating the obvious, but at the same time, it's like, you can't really just be doing that on live TV like that. That's unreal levels of disrespect, in my opinion. And so, obviously, like, there are different opinions about this, and I'm trying to get Austin Rivers' opinion on this as well, just trying to pull up the quotes on that, and what he previously said. So, because Austin Rivers, while he was also on TV, he decided to respond to the comments on his father. He obviously knows that his father can defend himself, but it's not like he doesn't have anything to say for the guy. So one of the quotes that he obviously he didn't agree with JJ Redick, given how that's his father, so he's obviously not going to agree with him. But he said, quote, "For someone who is not accountable, he seems to always be held responsible." And, well, yes, he is always being held responsible. Like, the media is, like, forcing him to be held responsible. It's not, like, something that he's willingly accepting. Like, because there are certain coaches that are like, oh, this game was on me, this was my fault, we have to go in and I have to make better adjustments. He doesn't do any of that. Or at least he hasn't been doing any of that on any of the previous teams that he's been on. And when you say he's being held responsible, yes, he is being held responsible, but that's not really, being held responsible isn't really the same as as being held accountable. Because being held accountable is sort of like, you understand that it was your fault and you understand why it was your fault. Now you just have to deal with those repercussions. Being held responsible is sort of like where you don't understand, or like you don't admit that you're actually the cause of that, and you're just like, you're being used as like sort of the main reason as to why something doesn't end up going your way. That's sort of what being held responsible is compared to being held accountable. And I can't really say that Doc Rivers has held accountability at all in any of the situations that he's been in, because again, while it does seem like it is his fault, because every single time he's coached the team underperformed, at the same time the players aren't really performing that well either. So it's not like what he's saying is wrong, but at the same time it's not like he's doing anything to fix it. At least given the fact that this has been a pattern every single time in the postseason for him. But it's not like he goes out saying it was my bad either. So like that's sort of like, I don't think he's really held accountable for these I don't think he holds himself accountable for a lot of these losses. And the fact that the media isn't blind doesn't mean that you have to be blind too. And he also mentions that your best years were with the Clippers. This seems a little bit weird. And yes, I understand that like his best years were with the Clippers, but obviously like when he was with the Clippers, they blew the 3-1 lead. So maybe he's still a little bit resentful for the fact that the team was unable to get over that hump. But regardless, it's not like that he was lying about any of the things that he said. It's not that he was overly harsh. It's not that he said anything that was like, it was just surprising. Because usually you don't expect a player who's having one of their best seasons to go out and talk bad about one of their coaches, because there's a respect thing involved in that. But JJ Redick, like we know JJ Redick and his media and his like the face that he brings. He speaks the truth and nothing but the truth. So obviously, like what he said, it like a lot of people might not want to hear it, but a lot of people like they might have to hear it from him, because he's not going to sugarcoat anything. He's going to say things for how they are. And given how like the situation that the Bucks are in right now, it's starting to look like he might have like a little bit of a point. And funny thing that I should also mention was that he allegedly told the Bucks ownership, "I don't understand why you're doing this." He told the Bucks ownership he doesn't understand why they're firing Adrian Griffin and replacing him with Doc Rivers himself, and he was surprised at that. And honestly, I'm surprised at that too, because so far they've done better with Adrian Griffin as their coach. So replacing a coach mid-season so far has not been looking like it's the best move for this team, especially with someone like Doc. And having one of your players say this about you on live TV is not a good look, especially over the break, where now there's a lot more media outlets that are going to be covering NBA news because they need to get NBA news out there. So it's not like this can be pushed under the rug. Now, maybe Doc can he can use this quote and be take it personally and turn the Bucks season around. But again, that's a little bit of a task given Doc Rivers and his experience. So with that, we're out of time with this first segment, talking about the Doc Rivers situation. So I'll probably bring it up again a little bit later in the few more podcasts if the situation gets worse. But and when the playoffs come around, I'm definitely going to bring this back up yet again. But we're going to go into the second segment, which is going to be looking at Jason Tatum's comments on himself, because he recently had an interview and he was asked how he feels whenever he steps on the court. So we will go ahead and look at that after this short break. So stay tuned. I will be right back.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?